This year's NBA play-in tournament has been filled with some of the most entertaining basketball that I've ever seen. I mean, 3 out of those first 4 games all came down to the final minute. Now, if you're new to basketball and you don't know what the play-in tournament is, let me break it down for you real quick. Now, there are 4 teams from each conference who compete to make it to the playoffs, with 2 of those teams in each conferences making it to the playoffs. Now, those 4 teams consist of the 7th through 10th seed in the regular season. Now, the 7th and 8th seed play each other, and the winner of that is automatically into the playoffs as the 7th seed. Whereas the loser of the 7th and 8th game, they go on to play the winner of the 9th and 10th. Now, the 9th and 10th seed will play each other. The loser of that game is eliminated, just like everybody else who missed the playoffs, while the winner of the 10th and 9th seed game go on to play the loser of the 7th and 8th seed game for the final spot in the playoffs as an 8th seed. And that's basically the play-in tournament summed up to a T. Now, in day 1 of the games, we saw the 8th seeded Atlanta Hawks go into Miami to play the 7th seeded Miami Heat for the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference. Now, if you recall from earlier, I said that 3 out of the first 4 games were really close, and this wasn't one of them. You see, as soon as Atlanta and Trae Young got rolling, they didn't let up. I'm pretty sure the only time that Miami had a lead was when they went up 2-0 at the very beginning of the game. And after that, the Hawks scored a 3-pointer and didn't give the lead up until the clock struck nothing, bro. They didn't give up the lead for the rest of the game. That's basically what happened. Now, a lot of the Atlanta Hawks' success came off the backs of their big 3, if we're being real, in Trae Young, Clint Capella, and DeJounte Murray. Now, Trae Young had himself a game. He led the team with 25 points, had 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Honestly, the only flaw in his game was the fact that Trae Young, he had 1 for 8 shooting from the 3-point line, which is terrible, don't get me wrong, that's dog shit. But Trae Young had a pretty phenomenal night besides that. As for Clint Capella, he did only contribute scoring-wise with 4 points, which isn't the greatest, but the dude got 21 rebounds. Yeah. The Miami Heat could not stop him at all. Who were they going to put on him? Let's be real. Clint Capella had a pretty easy matchup in this game, so it makes sense why he got 21 rebounds. Now, DeJounte Murray, he was second in scoring for the team at 18 points, and that makes sense because he's the second option, so why wouldn't he have the second most points? And that was off of 7 for 16 shooting from the field, going 3 for 8 from the 3-point line, with 5 rebounds and 6 assists. Now, where did things go wrong for the Miami Heat? I mean, they were favored in this game by far. If you look at any analyst's posts, they had the Miami Heat winning this game, and they had it easily. A large part of that was due to the fact that Jimmy Butler had a lot of confidence coming into this game. Now, he did back up that confidence with 21 points, and I'm pretty sure 9 assists, but he also had 3 turnovers. And if you're going to turn it over, you're going to hurt the team. That's how basketball works. And to keep things brief, Miami would go on to lose 116-105, meaning that if they wanted to keep their playoff hopes alive at all, they were going to need to play in another play-in game. And even if they somehow won this play-in game, they were going to have to match up against a first-seeded Milwaukee Bucks. Talk about a 4-0 sweep. Just saying. All right, let's get to the second game of the first day, where the Timberwolves strolled up to LA to play the LA Lakers and a 7th to 8th matchup for the play-in tournament, which means that the winner of this game was going to head up to Memphis and play the Grizzlies in a 7-game series. Now, there is one word to sum up this game, and that is ugly. Yep, this may have been an ugly, like the ugliest basketball game I've ever watched. Was it entertaining? Hell yeah, it was entertaining. But it was also really ugly. You see, after Dennis Schroeder hit this 3-pointer to put the Lakers up by 3 with basically icing the game, yeah, they didn't ice the game. Because the Lakers, for some reason, on the very next play, would foul Mike Conley. Okay, not the Lakers, Anthony Davis would foul Mike Conley as Mike Conley shot a 3 that was clearly going to be a brick. Then Mike Conley would go up to the free throw line, and luckily for him, DeRozan's daughter was not in the stands, so Mike Conley would go and make all 3 of those free throws, only to play the Lakers in a terrible overtime match. I mean, this overtime series, you know, how many points were scored in OT? 14 points total. 4 of them by the Timberwolves, 10 of them by the Lakers. Yes, the Lakers won this game. But that's not the point. The point is that The OT was terrible. The fourth quarter was terrible. This game was crazy, zany. A bunch of shit happened. Was it entertaining? Hell yeah, it was entertaining. Anyway, LeBron, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Davis, they would win as you'd expect, especially considering the fact that Minnesota is missing Rudy Gobert because of suspension, Jaden McDaniels because he punched the wall. So this Timberwolves team was due to fail. Built to fail because of what happened in the last game of the season. Alright, let's get to the second game days where the 9th and 10th seed were playing for both conferences. And in the first game of the day, we had the Toronto Raptors playing in Toronto versus the Chicago Bulls. Now, the Chicago Bulls and Toronto Raptors have been nothing but disappointing. Sure, the Chicago Bulls were dealing with some injuries, but the Toronto Raptors have straight up just been like disappointments. Like, come on, Toronto. You're in a top-heavy conference, so to be middle of the pack, it's pretty expected. I mean, you could have had a better record than the Knicks. Come on, the Knicks were the 5th seed. You could have, okay. Anyway, Toronto went and they kind of choked. They did choke. Toronto dominated most of the first half. By the third quarter, Toronto was leading by 17 points, and that's where things went wrong. You see you see a clip of DeRozan pulling a towel apart. He's pissed, tears the towel, and locks in. Yep. After halfway through the third quarter, the Chicago Bulls took over. They dominated the third quarter. They dominated the fourth quarter, and that's when Patrick Beverley's signing came into play, because as I started watching the fourth quarter, I started noticing that the Bulls defense was getting better and better. Every possession, it seemed like they were stealing the ball away from the Raptors, making them turn it over. And even when the Raptors got the ball, they were going to the free throw line, and they were missing free throws. They went 18 from 36 from the free throw line tonight. Was that because of DeRozan's daughter? Maybe. I mean, having a screaming girl in the stands does not help you win. But it did for the Chicago Bulls. Because the Chicago Bulls would go on to win the game. And, that meant that they were heading to the Miami Heat. They were heading to the Heat to play them. And the winner of that would play the Bucks. So we've got the Bulls versus the Heat. Winner plays the Bucks. Does it really matter, though? I mean, sure. They had a crazy comeback versus the Raptors. But does the Bulls game versus the Heat really matter? Because both teams are getting swept. The Bucks are just that good. Alright, let's head to game 4 of the play-in tournament, where the Thunder went head-to-head versus the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, was this game exciting from a distance coming into it? No, I didn't think it was going to be anything interesting. Right, you have a super young Thunder team, and the media cannot stop talking about how young this team is. Oh, they're super young. Oh, they're built for the future. I get it. But is that their only selling points? I mean, they have a few stars. Let's talk about those guys. Doesn't matter. Whereas the Pelicans headed into this game, no Zion. Now, if you want to hear my thoughts about Zion not playing, watch this video. I made a whole video about Zion not playing and how he may or may not be useless. And was I wrong? Yeah, after watching this game for the Pelicans, I might have been wrong. Besides the point. All right, so to start it off, the Thunder had a 3-point lead by the end of the first. Kind of unexpected. I mean, this young team, everyone had the Pelicans winning. They're a 9th seed. The Thunder are a 10th seed. They barely got in over the Jazz. Over the Mavericks. They barely got in over the Mavericks. So most people didn't even expect the Thunder to be in the play-in, but they were, and they were leading by 3. Now, the Pelicans had a pretty solid second quarter. They took back the lead, and I'm pretty sure they had the lead going into halftime. None of that mattered, because the Thunder, led by Josh Giddey, Shai Gilgeous, and Lou Dort. Yeah, Lou Dort. They took over in the third quarter. I'm pretty sure they won that quarter by 15 points, in thanks to Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous 30 pieces, and I'm pretty sure Lou Dort dropped a 20 bomb. So did the Pelicans sell? Yes. Now, why are the Pelicans in the play-in tournament in the first place? Well, it's because they've had injuries, and they've had a ton of them throughout the entire season. Honestly, they started the season, 25-12, first in the West, only to be in the play-in and then miss the playoffs entirely. So, I'm gonna cut the Pelicans some slack. CJ, Brandon Ingram, I mean, CJ always sells. CJ is a sell. Fuck CJ McCollum. Alright, but Brandon Ingram had a nice season, he had a nice game. Sure, he only played in 40 games, whatever. The Pelicans are eliminated. That's the point. The Thunder are moving on to play the Minnesota Timberwolves. Winner of that game plays the Nuggets. Now, not taking any shots at the MVP here, but if any big dog were to fall, it would be in the West. Like I said, The Grizzlies, not that good. Have a lot of injuries. The Kings, yeah, no one takes them seriously. They might light the beam every night, but no one's taking them seriously. I mean, a lot of people have the Warriors winning that series. Anyway, if any team were to fall, it's going to be in the West. Not to say that Jokic is a bad MVP, but, you know, no one really respects him. Is that fair to say? I think it's fair to say. He hasn't accomplished much. He doesn't have any all-star teammates, so let's leave it at that. Anyway, the Timberwolves played the Thunder. Winner of that goes to become the 8th seed, and honestly, I want to see the Thunder in it. Not that I don't like Anthony Edwards, but Anthony Edwards kind of choked versus the Lakers, so I want to see the Thunder in the playoffs. Am I biased? Hell yeah, I'm biased. Now, the whole point of this video and why you came here is because I'm going to tell you why the play-in has been such a huge success, why everybody loves it. And it's the fact that these games, they're one and dones. The first game of the series is a win or go home. And that doesn't happen in basketball. Usually in basketball, you have 7-game series where, you know, you lose the first game. All right, we'll put our heads down tomorrow. We'll take game 2. You lose game 2. That's okay. The series isn't over. And, you know, some teams come back from being down 2-0. 3-0? Yeah, talk to LeBron James about that. He's the only one to ever come down 3-0. And what, he did it in the finals? Or was it 3-1? I can't remember. It's been almost a decade. Yes, you're old. It's been a decade. Anyway, the play-in. What makes the play-in so great is the fact that these games, anybody can go home at any time. You don't have to sit through 4 or 5 pretty boring games to wait for a win or go home game. It happens right now, right here. That's what makes the play-in so perfect. Was I a hater of the play-in when it was first invented? Yeah, I thought it was stupid that a 10th seed could become an 8th seed only to get blown out. And that's one of the flaws, is that most play-in winners lose. But honestly, this year might be a little bit different, especially with the West being as wacky as it is. That's all for the video. Catch y'all later. Much love, and shout out to all the people supporting me on the Tampa Bay Rays video. Didn't think that was gonna be a success, but it was. Much love. Deuces.